Ready. Hello.
Hey, Chris.
Ready. The time is now 1:05 p.m. and we are going to get ready and get started. Thank you for all that are attending this afternoon. I know you could be doing something else with your Sunday, but we feel like this is very important in regards to mental health and the effects of COVID-19. Can everyone hear me okay?
Just fine.
Okay, great. Alrighty. What I'm going to start by doing is to introducing the panelists. We have Ashlyn Simmons. She LMSW. She is with National Tau Beta Sigma. Glad for you to be on our panelists. And to give you a little bit about her background, Ashlyn Simmons is a licensed master of social work in Austin, Texas. Hey, fellow Texan. I'm a transplant too.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
planning to Austin.
cool, cool. Well, she provides individual and family therapy services for adults in an outpatient setting. Her areas of expertise include trauma, anxiety, depression, interpersonal relationship issues. Her areas of expertise include concerns, uh, no, I'm sorry, trauma, yeah, anxiety, depression, interpersonal relationship issues, and others areas of mental health work concerns. Ashlyn is originally from Little Rock, Arkansas. All right. And she earned her bachelor's degree in social work in 2016 from the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. She then immediately began accelerated graduate program and graduated in 2017 with a master's in social work, also from Missouri, and worked with children and adolescents in residential treatment facility, in addition to her expertise in outpatient and residential settings. And she has held social work positions in schools, inpatient behavioral hospitals, and retirement community. In her free time, Ashley enjoys spending time with her husband, cat, and new puppy. Congratulations on the new puppy.
Thank you.
Austin is home to many hiking and nature trails. Ashley enjoys trail running, kayaking, spending time outdoors. Ashley was initiated into the side chapter of Tau Beta Sigma at the University of Arkansas on November 11, 2011, and is now a Tau Beta Sigma Life member. Congratulations. She has served Tau Beta Sigma as a Southwest District Counselor since 2018, enjoys working with students and chapters individually to meet their goals. Great, thank you so much. Next on our panelist is Charles O'Connor, Chicago police officer. Charles O'Connor is a veteran police officer with Chicago Police Department. Thank you for serving us, sir. He has been in the Chicago Police Department for over 20 years and currently working in the 007 district in the role of crime statistician. Did I say that right? Oh, he might have dropped. Alrighty. Prior to his current post, he has served as assistant secretary and secretary in the 007 district, as well as worked in the 003 district as a patrolman and had responsibility for abandoned buildings. In 2009, Charles founded the Chicago Youth Leadership Academy, YCLA. Yeah, that person. And in 2009, Charles founded Chicago Youth Leadership Academy, YCLA, and a unique program which provides African American male youth entering the 8th through the 12th grade with constructive alternative to gangs, drugs, teens, domestic violence, and other social emotional issues facing low-income children and their families in high-risk areas in the highest crime neighborhoods in Chicago, which is run by Charles Connor with the assistance of local police officers in the 003 and 007 districts. Collaboration partnership with the University of Chicago, which allow ICLA student access and campus facility that support 3-week seminar program program. And with a 3-week summer program designed to help 30 African American male students tackle their behavior, health, and social and relationship issues and understand how to mentally prepare for learning. The program is on pause currently. Charles attended the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and is a 1986 graduate of Simmons High School. Charles is a member of Kappa Kappa Psi Band fraternity and an accomplished professional drummer. And our other panelist is Mr. Anthony Ward Sr. Anthony D. Ward Sr. is a native of Flint, Michigan. He currently resides in Little Rock, Arkansas with his wife for 28 years, Renisha. He is the proud father of three children, Joanna, Charlie, and Anthony II. He is also the proud grandfather of one grandson named Jaden. Congratulations. Anthony is a member of Kappa Kappa Psi, honorary band fraternity, Prince Hall Masonic Lodge, number 6, and Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. His church affiliation with the Wesley Chapel United Methodist Church. His Christian duties include being an active member of the Wesley Chapel Men's Choir, co-chairperson of the Marriage Ministry, and active member of the Usher Board and dedicated a member of the Church Board of Trustees. Anthony attended the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, in which graduate of the fall 2006, received a BS degree in Human Development and Family Studies. Since 2007, Anthony has worked in mental health for various organizations. He currently works for the Professional Counseling Association, whose affiliate of, ARISA Health, that provides mental health services in 41 of the 75 counties in Arkansas. Since with the company, he has held various positions. His current position includes being a qualified behavioral health provider, QBHP, and a crisis counselor who is partnered with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and a youth mental health first aider. His clients consist of children as young as 5 years old up to adults age 60 plus. At the end of each session, he reiterates and emphasizes 2 encouraging points from them to remember. 1, you can't appreciate the sunshine unless you've been through a storm. No matter how bad you feel or how bad things are going, there is somebody somewhere wishing they could trade places with you. Alrighty, we did have additional panelists, which was Mia. Unfortunately, Mia could not be with us today. I want you guys to, whatever your faith is, say a prayer for Mia. Her mom passed yesterday. So that's the reason why she was not being able to be with us as a panelist today. Mia is also a licensed social worker as well. She also helped with the youth and through behavioral health through photography as well. She was a great asset to the panelists, but we all just want to keep her in our prayers due to her passing of her mom yesterday. All righty. How's everyone doing today? If you can unmute yourself, that would be great.
Doing really well.
Oh, thank you.
Blessed.
Good.
I'm good.
All righty. One of the questions, we did provide our panelists with questions ahead of time, so we won't take up too much time. So they can also give in-depth thinking on the questions that were provided ahead of time. And one of the questions that we have is, how has COVID-19 affected your responsibility as a professional? Has your job responsibilities changed? And I would like to lead off with Charles O'Connor with that one.
Good afternoon, everyone. Basically, being a Chicago police officer, pre-COVID, before the actual COVID started, we all know that at some point it actually started before they said it started. So you started seeing the difference of people, becoming ill and not showing up for work. And being in the city of Chicago, I'm sure you guys know our crime is very high. So people being off work and officers being off work can sometimes cause havoc in certain high crime areas. So during this time of the COVID, the pre-COVID, we all was able to function and move around. You didn't have to worry, shaking hands, being close to one another, just being in one place, even sitting in the vehicles with each other. We have two in the car. Some cars have 3 and 4 in the car, so that's without the mask, without the hand sanitizer, and just meeting people in public. We interact with people in public, from going to domestics, crime scenes, church events, just pretty much everything. And we didn't have to worry about, if this COVID thing is affecting us, or if it's gonna take one of us down or take one of us out.
Okay. Alrighty. And Ashley?
Yeah, so pre-COVID, I was working at a outpatient agency. I'm still with that agency, but we were seeing clients and families in person. So we had different office locations around Austin so that people could easily access it. And since COVID, because we have over 80 counselors and over 1,000 clients in small areas, face-to-face contact and a lot of talking, it's too dangerous to meet in person.
Yes.
So we've had to move our entire practice online. So we've been doing teletherapy sessions via Zoom, which has been helpful. And I'm happy that I'm still able to provide services to people and still be able to literally meet them where they're at in their homes. It's been fun getting to see some of my clients' pets, or kind of their home environment, what that looks like. But there's obviously a lot of challenges with that. Technology access has been a huge issue. So working with some clients that don't have Wi-Fi or a laptop or anything, we've had to do just phone sessions, which can be tougher. You're also not getting it's not the same experience as sitting in the room with someone. I'm sure all of us have just had that experience where you're sitting in the room with someone, you get to be in their energy, you get to kind of facilitate this connection together. And I try to do my best to do that over Zoom. It's just not the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, even with some of just the ordinary communication, and we so used to the physical touch of individual on a day-to-day basis, and some of that has ceased already. And what about you, Mr. Ward?
Well, a lot like Ashlyn, we too did the same thing as far as being able to interact with our clients. We were not able to go physically see them like as she as well. We have our outpatient services also.
Okay.
And so we basically did, and it kind of led into another question that you have, that we did telehealth services, and we were able to provide as a QBHP, which is a fancy word for case manager. What we did, we were able to provide 3 different types of services to them. One being a supplemental service, the other one being a collateral service, and the other one was a direct engagement service. And so it basically would be via telephone or via video. And a lot of people, the challenge would be if they didn't have access to video capabilities. And so we would go and try to teach them how to set up the Zoom account and different things like that. And so as the supplemental service would basically, what we would do is just call and just to check them and access them, see if their needs are being met, and to see how we can help provide those needs for them, whether it be going to get some food, whether it be trying to find other resources that will be helpful for them. And that basically kind of led into what the collateral contact would be. The collateral contact would also be engaging in not only just resources, but other like family members. Some of my clients are children. So, with them being under age 18, a lot of times I would talk to their family members, and even the adults that I have. Some of them have a actual guardian because they cannot live and do things independently. So I would do a lot of interaction with their legal guardians as well. And so the direct engagements will be where, for example, if let's say I went to get some food for someone, then I would just basically take it and drop it off at their house. One client I can remember going to pick up some adult diapers and taking them to her house. And so I didn't go in the house, but I would just drop them off. So that's basically how things have changed. And as far as how my responsibilities have changed, I actually some of my responsibilities have increased. I just recently, not too long ago, went through a crisis counseling program where we basically offer crisis counseling because of COVID. And so what I do, I call different organizations and just take information to them for anyone who may be going through a crisis because of this pandemic. And what happens there is they would call a number and then they would refer them to us, and we make contact with them, and then we would go out and we could talk to them or even a group of people about the things that are associated, the stresses that they're feeling because of COVID, and just see again how we may be offered to some additional support and resources to them as well.
Okay, great. Now, this question is for Charles O'Connor. What is the protocol if law enforcement has to intervene since COVID-19?
Well, the protocol now is safety first, as far as we have to show up with the face mask, the gloves, the hand sanitizer. We have a lot of people that really don't care about, especially in the Black African American neighborhoods. They're not serving the precaution of being safe. And that's why in our Black communities, we have a high rate of deaths or sickness of our citizens due to not being able to maintain or have the money to go and get masks. So we also provide masks. Okay. We pull in other locations as well as what Ward said, have those services come in to help us out as far as to give out for these type of events. But you have to worry about people. In my profession, they'll take what they want. Okay. So when you have these things, we're there to ensure that everybody gets what they need.
Great. Thank you so much. Now, what do you do when someone is feeling anxious related to COVID-19?
We try to calm them down. Again, we have services that we can use to talk to the citizens, to allow them, like for instance, the breathing machines. We had an incident once where a hospital within the community, they ran out of the breathing machines, and we had to actually go help along with the fire department to go and actually pick up some from outside resources, the suburbs. Because we really have a big facility downtown Chicago, the McCormick Place, but that's strictly for quote unquote, the areas where the misfortune cannot afford to go to these hospitals. Okay. So we have to go and help out in those situations.
Absolutely. Ashlyn, the same question posed to you as well.
Absolutely. So I've had a lot of clients that are very anxious about COVID-19. I feel like it's the topic of many sessions since about the beginning of March when all this started.
Yes.
One of the first things that I do when people are anxious about COVID, or whether they're anxious about anything that's going on in their life, the best thing that I can do is just listen and be there for them in that moment, just listening to those concerns, empathizing and validating those concerns as absolutely they're real. They're things to be concerned about. It's stuff that it's affecting all of us. So just being with them in that moment, even if it's a really tough moment to be in, and share that moment with them, even if they're feeling really hopeless or anxious, joining them in that. The next thing you can do, the next thing that I do is help them feel more grounded in the present. Just kind of talk them through those anxieties, help them figure out what's their what's their bigger stresses like in the present, see if there's something smaller that's more manageable that we can get accomplished or a task completed or that we can focus on, help them feel more calm and grounded, like I said. And then beyond that, start looking at short-term and long-term coping mechanisms, strategies to kind of self-soothe through those really distressing moments when things are just really overwhelming, but then also figure out some long-term behaviors and routines and habits that they can put into place that's going to actively work towards an overall increased sense of well-being, overall sense of feeling more calm, even when things feel overwhelming and unmanageable. Some of those longer term things can be continuing to seek therapy services every week with me, but also creating exercise habits, making sure that they're seeking medical services whenever needed, cooking for themselves, doing hobbies that they enjoy, things to kind of get their mind off of what's happening and onto something that's feeling very effective and productive for them.
Chris, you muted.
Okay, I just have to unmute myself. All righty. And what about yourself, Mr. Ward?
Well, basically, again, a lot of what Ashlyn said is very similar. What I try to do when I come across my clients or just anyone in particular, I try to remind them of actually that, stress is just an unhealthy thinking pattern. And that's basically what I focus on, is trying to get their thinking differently. And I come up with different coping skills to just kind of change their thinking pattern. A lot of times I try to get them to remember, first and foremost, try not to get caught up in the things that they cannot control. We can't control the government. We can't control schools opening and closing. We can't control the existence of a vaccine or a treatment. And so just the different things that they cannot control is what I try to get them to realize and remember first. And then I come back and try to get them to realize and think about the things that they can do, to come up with different activities that they may do, even if they're at home. I have a workbook that I have, and there's a list of things that are in that workbook that kind of suggest different things. Things they can do in the house, reaching out to someone who they haven't seen in a while, maybe making a workout video. And I mean, there's just a plethora of things. It was like 75 things that I had listed, and I'm not going to read them all, but just getting them to think differently and to always try to think positively instead of negative. And that's why, I came up with I kind of say those two points that I try to encourage. No matter how bad things are going for you, how bad things may be, believe it or not, there's somebody somewhere wishing they could trade places with you, which means it could always be worse. It could always be worse. And so, they'll tell me different things about what's going on. And well, Mr. Ward, this is wrong. This is wrong. I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling like that. And so I try to tell them, I say, well, things are bad right now. Things are bad for everybody. But I want you to understand that unless you've been through a storm, you can't appreciate the sunshine. And so they pretty much feel good when I tell them that. And so those are the things, is just trying to get them to understand what anxiety really is and how they can really change it. And again, like Ashlyn said, a lot of it is just active listening. You listen to what they say. You identify with what they say. You show that you care about what they're going through, and then you try to reiterate how they're not the only ones going through the same thing.
Absolutely. All righty. Thank you so much. Now, this is pertaining to everyone, but also pertaining to you as yourself. What are some anxieties you face as a mental health care professional? And I'll let Ashlyn start off with that one.
See, some anxieties I face as a mental health professional. especially in the time of COVID right now,
Mhm.
I'm just worried about my clients and their safety and well-being. Just making sure that they're all staying safe, that they're coming back to sessions every week. I know my anxiety is just when someone's late or if they don't show up for a session, are they okay? Where are they at? What's going on? So I'll reach out to them. And I always hear back from them, knocking on wood. But that's always an anxiety, is just with how much this virus is affecting everybody. When will it affect my clients? Beyond that, some anxieties that I face just generally as a counselor is when my clients expect a miracle solution to very complex issues and concerns. I really wish I had a magic solution or a magic skill, or here, just read this one book or practice this one technique and all of your pain and anxiety and concern is going to go away. I wish I had that for people, and I don't. And so one of my anxieties is just hoping that people sit with the process of therapy, sitting with the process of going through those long, dark tunnels of emotion so that they can get out through the other side safely. So yeah, just finding the best connections for my clients, getting them the best resources, the best support that they could possibly get, and making sure that I'm a good fit for whatever they're needing.
Great, great. Now, let me ask you this, Ashlyn. Do you as a mental health professional take your own advice that you give to your clients in order to try to stay normal during this difficult time?
So one thing is you can't be your own therapist. You can't be your own counselor. It can be really hard to be your own advocate sometimes. So I have my own therapist that I see weekly. Very open about that fact. I think it's incredibly important for the people in the mental health profession and really any profession to be doing their own work and own self-reflection as well. Beyond that, I tried not to give my clients advice per se. I'll work with them to create plans and to create habits and routines that work best for them. But what works best for one of my clients is not going to work best for the next client that I see and may not work best for me as well. There are basic things that are universal. When people are anxious, get those basic needs met: food, sleep, hygiene, social connection, things like that. And so in those regards, those skills I try to remember for myself as well and do those things too.
Wonderful.
But yeah, I do my own work with my own therapist as well. And that's really helpful for my growth, not only as a person, but for my clients, making sure that I'm always able to show up for them without being so into my own stuff. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Of course.
Thank you for being transparent. Ready. And Mr. O'Connor, what about yourself?
What was the question again? Because I had to step away.
Oh, okay. What are some anxieties you face as this COVID-19? Even though you're not a mental health professionalist, but you are working in in law enforcement, and I know that what mechanism, how is that affecting you in your mental health?
Well, personally, you look at, I have 5 kids, so I have a family and a grandson to come home to. And being in a police field, since the George Floyd event occurred, it has been an uprise and protests after protests after protests. And most of the time, well, when it first started, no one was wearing masks. All the busting windows and just smash and grab throughout the city of Chicago. We had to go out there, to protect the city and people's properties. So being out there, not knowing, with thousands, basically hundreds of thousands of people to deal with on a daily basis, we work 12 hours every day for like 21 days. And we were out in the
Mhm.
streets, with these people. So then you have to go home after that. So, you're taking off your clothes that you have on. I mean, again, we always talk about this, the sanitation part of it. The mental aspect is, I don't want to give it to my grandmother. I have a grandmother that's 90 years old, my mom. So you have to stay away from family. So it can be a little mentally draining.
Mhm. So, what do you do in order to debrief yourself of that, or how do you get mental health for yourself as an individual? As an
We have
individual.
we have classes that they pretty much just started taking at Olive Harvey College, and it's wellness and being of self. And with that, it just kind of tells you, how you gotta stay back and keep yourself together. Because if you don't, your family will fall apart as well as yourself. So through all these dynamics of educational components about how to, self meditate and all that, that's basically what we're doing.
Okay. All righty. And what about yourself, Mr. Ward?
Well, I think Ashlyn hit on a very important thing to look about is that a lot of mental health professionals seek professionals. And I have not yet, but I have been contemplating the same thing because, there are clients that I have that I can teach all the coping skills in the world to. I can give them advice or on what they could do, how to tell them about thinking positively. But I have clients that no matter what I tell them, things are still going to be difficult for them. I have clients who are trying to get approved for disability who actually need it. And because of how our system has been, people have taken advantage of it. It makes it a lot harder for people to get approved for disability. And so when I'm in front of a client and they're telling me, Mr. Ward, I got denied again, you know, I encourage them by telling them, hey, keep at it, you'll eventually get it. But when they're facing having this to pay, or they want their quality of life to be better, and it's not going to get better right then I say it, but it doesn't always make them feel a lot better. And that's kind of what worries me is their state of mind, because anxiety can also lead, it dances with depression, and depression can lead to suicidal thoughts. And so that's something that I really worry about, is when there's something I mentioned earlier, things are beyond our control. And that's something that's beyond my control. I have no control of, a client being approved for disability, but I can see firsthand, they need it. And so what I do try to do is keep encouraging them and say, hey, you're still going to get it. You are, it takes some time, and, it's not your fault you didn't get it. They just are now trying to be a stickler for the people that receive it, if they're actually worthy and needing the help that they're looking to get. And so what I try to do, as far as keeping myself kind of calm, I will, I'll listen to music. I'll jam some jazz, or coming home, or sometimes I sit in my office just kind of depressed, and so I try to talk to people that I know that are will uplift me. A friend of mine who lives in Texas, I talk to him quite a bit, and he and I get on the phone, and we're laughing and we're joking, and those kinds of things. And so that's kind of what I try to do, to just kind of decrease my anxiety level, because I think we all have an anxiety level. It's just a matter of how bad we let it affect us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, even with myself, I learned that getting professional help is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of that you're taking care of your mental health as well. Also, as well, not only mental health, I always try to encourage individuals to take care of their physical health as well. And I'm speaking on the African American side. We try not to go to the doctor because of certain things that happened years ago. But as you learn your body, you have to reach out to a professional that is what their profession is to get you well and not, get you full of prescription medication, but lifestyle change as well. So that mental and physical is always great for everyone. Righty. The next questions, what are some of the challenges that you experience when interacting with students, patients, and law enforcement? All righty. Let's go with you, Mr. Ward.
Well, the challenges that I face with my parents is consistently with keeping up with their appointments, or not just my parents, even my adult clients, just consistently at keeping up with their appointments. And so I try to explain to them that we as a company can't provide the best quality care to them if they are not being fully engaged in the treatment. And so the treatment includes the therapist, the doctor, and then if I'm on their treatment plan, then my services as well. Now, the main focus of a client's treatment goes through the therapist, and a lot of clients don't understand that if I don't see my therapist, I can't go to see the doctor, because a lot of times the doctor will say, if they find out that they're not coming to their therapy appointments, they'll say, well, you have to go to your therapy appointment before you can come back and see me. So just trying to get my clients to understand. And then, my services, all clients don't have my services. It has to be written on their treatment plan. But I try to encourage them that if my services is on their treatment plan, that is also important because it's a part of their treatment. And so in order for us, again, to be able to provide the best quality care to you as a company, you have to also continue to see me as well. And so that's one of the challenges. Now, as far as law enforcement, I have not had any challenges. But the only thing that I would have been involved in as far as law enforcement is if I'm on the phone with the client and they're feeling suicidal. And if they in fact say that they have a plan, because a lot of clients will say, I feel suicidal. But if they actually have a plan, then that's when law enforcement has to be called. And what they generally do, they'll just go by the house to do a wellness check. Now, if the client says in front of the officer, well, yeah, I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to do this. Well, at that point, he calls the ambulance and they come and get him. And so that hasn't really been a challenge. And we've had clients that have to be taken to the hospital, from the clinic, but because of how they have been feeling. So those are really the only challenges that I have. It's just getting them to recognize and to remember that, every aspect of their treatment is important. You're on mute, Chris.
What about you, Ashlyn?
Yeah, so some of the challenges, well, first of all, in my current setting, I only speak with my clients directly unless there's a release of information on file, in which I could then contact a psychiatrist if they have one, or if there's a release of information for like payment, I could talk to a parent about billing. But that's if the clients, I only see people who are 18 and up. So I don't see children right now, unless it's in a family setting. And at that point, I'm talking to the parents. I will say though, in previous settings, I've had some interactions at an inpatient and residential settings with law enforcement and with families. But right now during COVID, it's just with my specific clients. So my specific challenges that I'm experiencing right now with clients is a lot of finances stuff. COVID has definitely impacted the economy. It's impacted people's jobs. I have clients that are in the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, teachers, and it's just really affecting everybody's finances and mental health. I do work currently in a practice that is, we're self-pay only. We do have a small sliding scale, but we don't bill through insurance. And so a lot of clients had to kind of rethink their finances whenever COVID hit. And so something that we did as an agency is we started offering shorter and lower cost sessions, so like 30 minutes, just so that people could still check in with a mental health professional every week, even if they weren't able to afford the full hour session or our full rate. Another thing that we offered was doing some lower cost or free group therapy for first responders, doctors, nurses, people who've been affected by COVID-19 directly, things like that. So those are some of the challenges that I face right now, is a lot of finances, people wanting to get the services and not sure financially how to access it. So.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Alrighty. What was or what is your most difficult task since the outbreak of COVID-19? And let's start with Ashlyn.
Okay. Most difficult task since the outbreak of COVID. For me personally, it's been setting a balance between work and the home, like my personal life. One thing in the mental health world is trying to, you can be there with the client and you get into those feelings and in those energies and in that space with them, but really focused in on them. And then whenever I go home, whenever I would leave the office and come home, that was the time that I got to focus on me and my family, my friends. But now everything is in one space. So it's been really tough keeping that separate. And so where you see me right now is my home office. This is where I conduct all of my therapy sessions with my clients. And I try to keep this room just for my home office, which means I've had to kind of rearrange my home layout. But I've been really that's been my biggest challenge, is just having that balance between work and personal life, so that I don't get extremely burnt out and that I'm still able to face every day feeling refreshed and hopeful and ready to work with my clients. And also so I don't go home and stress out my husband more. So.
Absolutely. What about you, Mr. Ward?
Well, when we really started dealing with COVID, as far back as March, just trying to, of course, see clients, because my particular job, I can go and see clients. And so that's when we referred to doing the telehealth and telemed videos. And so just as now that as time has kind of gone on and we've kind of gotten a little bit more relaxed and we're a little bit more knowledgeable about it, and we kind of have learned a lot about, how to be safe. Again, I go back to just trying to get people to keep up with their appointments. And, I don't know if Ashley has a problem with it, but even our therapists, have problems with clients keeping up with their appointments. And so just trying to, another difficult challenge is just trying to keep clients motivated. And they look on the news and they see this, that, and the other, and it's all bad news. So just trying to let them stay encouraged about the final eventual outcome of when we will be able to not have to be as aware of COVID, to where there'll be both a treatment and a vaccine. and knowing that that day is eventually going to come. But until then, just and I tell them everybody's going through the same thing, the same things that you worry about, we worry about also. We understand, because it's just not like you're experiencing COVID. We all, as a country, are experiencing COVID. And so the challenge for me also is, well, it's not a challenge, it's just more of a worry, is that when I see people walking around with no mask, and what I try to tell my clients is that's something else that we can't control. We can't control other people wearing masks. So what we do is focus on what we can control.
Absolutely. All righty. Now, I know we have several educators on here, such as Nai, Alicia Rowden, Don Wilson. With being educators, what has changed or what has been implemented? Let me ask that question. What has been implemented to assist those educators on the mental health aspect for their students? And I know, Ashley, you say you don't deal with kids, right? What about
currently?
Not
I
currently.
have teachers who are clients, but not students.
Oh, okay, great. I'm gonna direct that question to you, Mr. Ward.
Well, I do have several students that are not going to school virtually. And what the schools that I have been going to, what they'll do, they have a temperature, like a little temperature gun, I guess you can call it. And you have to take your temperature. It has signs posted if you have your temperature, all the symptoms of signs, and they ask you not to enter. But also at the same time, some schools do not let anybody in. Like they'll let parents come to a certain area, and then they'll call the student or whatever the case may be. And they won't let anybody in the school unless it's essential. And so in my position, I'm considered essential. So what I have to do is I have to take my temperature, and of course I have to have my mask on, and I sign in. I have to document the temperature that I do have. And then when I do see them, I have to sit a certain distance away from them, which is not hard to do because they're pretty much, like I said, I get my students to understand the importance of it. And my students pretty much do. They pretty much understand the importance of it. So I haven't had a real big problem with that. But that's kind of some of the steps that the schools have taken as far as they don't let just anybody come. Like parents cannot come and have lunch with their child. They don't allow that, that type of thing. And at one particular school I go to, they don't even let the parent come all the way into the office. They'll ask them who they need or what they want. And then they'll kind of go out there, or they'll go call the student or whatever the case may be. If a parent is dropping off some lunch, they'll go out there and get the lunch, and then they'll come back and then they'll wash their hands and, sanitize their hands with sanitizer and different things like that. So those are some of the things that I know that schools are doing. One of my Kappa frat brothers is a teacher, and he was telling me how they had the students sit with partitions in between them, and they stayed in that same spot all day long.
Wow.
Yeah, they would have their lunches delivered to the classroom, and he said only until recently they have finally gotten the principal to kind of let the students get up and just kind of walk around. And so all the classes, they have different classes, but each teacher, they don't change classes, the teachers change the classes. So that's just something that I know about. Now, I can't speak for all schools because there are different school districts. But one thing I can say in speaking to teachers, that teaching virtually is harder. When you have students in the classroom and then you have students at home. I have a client who he has told me, he feels the teacher doesn't care about the students that are in the class. They just care about the students who are at home virtually. So what I did, I explained to him, first of all, how difficult a job it is to be a teacher. And so when I explained that to him, we kind of went into some role playing, and I came up with some scenarios. And of course, when I did certain things, he couldn't answer the question. So I said, see, you don't know what to do. I'd ask him, what would you do in this situation? Of course, he didn't have anything. I said, so you have to put your self into a teacher's position and know that, hey, this COVID thing is new for all of us. I said, so now that they have students in the class and students that are virtual, that their job is actually a little harder because they have to pay attention. And this is where, you know, what if little John Junior at home needs some help? The teacher can't walk by and see Junior doing a math problem wrong. So they just have to take into account what the student is saying. And some students won't say, I need help. You know, and I think that's part of teachers' jobs or their love for it, is they can notice, okay, Junior is not doing what he's supposed to do. He might be over there drawing. Well, if they're virtual, they can't see if Junior is drawing and doodling. And you don't have all parents that are making sure that their child is doing what they're supposed to do. But then when grades come out, the parents are like, well, why does he have this, that, and the other? Well, your son, your daughter hasn't been doing their work. Now, the student could be sitting in front of the computer. That don't mean they're doing their work. So that's just kind of the things that I know, you know, from kind of being on the outside that is going on. But it has been a change, and it is difficult.
Absolutely. Yeah, because my yesterday and Thursday, we had to take my little nephew to the ER. My sister had to take my nephew to the ER on those 2 days. Come to find out, because he is not working, doing virtual school, that the rays from the computer is affecting his eyes, which is making him have these headaches. And, you know, the COVID-19 is really impacting on all aspects of, even like from the minute things that we took advantage of, and now it's having something that we have to rethink on small things that we have to do in our everyday life. Now, what I want to do next.
I wanted to ask a question for the educators. I wanted to know what programs do they have available for children who are having issues with their work. With my son, well, he's thankfully doing very well in class, online. However, there are a lot of students having, some issues. What programs do you have available for them? Like tutoring,
So in my district, I work in Prince George's County, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. On Wednesdays is a small group instruction day. So it's a day that students can make appointments, or I have groups that I already have set up of students that I know that are having issues. So even though it's set up in increments of 30 minutes, 30-minute sessions, if that student needs to stay for the entire 90 minutes, like I had some students who speak English as a second language, they needed additional support. We have them, but also they have social emotional learning that they do with the counselor that's at our school. And then the teachers, we also implement. So like one of my favorites, it does have a social emotional aspect, but it's a really great website. It's called Go Noodle. So if your child has Clever, the portal that you go into, and I'm gonna be done, Go Noodle is really good because it has videos for kids of all ages. There are fun dances and things that are there, but there's also some relaxation techniques, some meditation techniques that are there to help kids with getting focused, taking, breaks when they need to. So I think this will help parents, or the Go Noodle website. It could help parents with that aspect if they want to look and see what videos their kids could use, and look into your district and see what they're offering as far as counseling. And if they have some days where those students can make appointments, or they can meet, with their teachers in a smaller group setting than they do during the regular time, because it can be overwhelming to have that many people on a screen and they're looking at you and you're talking. It can be. So that's just some of the things our district is doing.
Okay.
I wanted to add to that. This is Nae Colton, and I'm a middle school mathematics teacher in the Chicago Public School District. I work at John B. Drake Elementary School. In terms of academics, we have been utilizing Khan Academy as an academic support. during our small groups, we have our structure. We are completely virtual right now, but they are in talking about us going back, which that conference was just held yesterday. But we have asynchronous and synchronous time, and so there only are allowed so many minutes of instruction virtually, and then during the asynchronous time, that is an opportunity for the students to get their work done. But in terms of playing catch up with academics, if that's what you're looking for,
It's 2
I would
o'clock.
highly recommend Khan Academy in terms of academic support.
Right. All righty. So let me ask this question, and this is basically to everyone. I know Ashlyn and Mr. Ward did state that they seek professional counseling or help for mental help for themselves. For the individuals that are on here, has anyone else since COVID-19 reach out to mental health professional during this time to help you with your everyday life?
Let me speak for a moment. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeffrey Fuller. I'm not an educator, but and I'm not in mental health. I applaud both professions. First of all, as an individual, a civilian, let's say, I needed both of those because I was a COVID-19 sufferer. I just came out. Well, real quick, I got infected with COVID and sent into medical facility as of July 27th, and after rehab was released on September 25th.
Wow.
It did keep me out for quite some time, and there's still some rehab going on now. Praise God, I am where I am today because of the healthcare profession. Those doctors, those nurses saved my life and brought me back to my family so that I could see them again. When it comes to the education part, I know for me, it was very important for my 3 daughters to maintain their educational status. One of my daughters just graduated from college, but the difficulty there for her mental health was a lot of these kids did not experience what we experienced when we were seniors in high school or college. We did not have those fun times and those social events that were planned and so forth. So that has caused a lot of down feelings with the kids. And if you just talk back to the kids, they'll tell you, I miss this and I miss that. And they don't know how to deal with the fact that somebody had it, but they couldn't have it. So the overbearing of the health itself or the protection for their health is something that they're dealing with. And then you have kids like my middle daughter who's still in college. She's at Hampton University. They closed the school down immediately. They were, I believe, one of the first HBCUs to say, we're just not going to do it, and everything went online. So the stress there was making sure we had the correct online capabilities for her to even attend school, because they're still going to ask for the check, and they're still going to expect you to pay it if you want to see those classes. And then there was no other way. Like I said, and I didn't say, I'm sorry, I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, and there's no way to get to Hampton because the entire campus was just shut down. And then I have a 13-year-old in the Baltimore City public school system. So again, I had to make sure that the provisions were there. But she, at 13, is upset and doesn't understand. How come I can't see my friends? How come I can't have the social interaction? How come I can't see? And in a lot of cases, because of waiting for testing, it was difficult for her to understand why she couldn't be around certain family members as much. How come I can't see my cousins as much? Because we want to make sure that individually we're all safe. That's just been a burden for us all. But getting back, I know for me, it's been for mental health, for myself personally and seeking it, it's just a matter of waiting for my referral to come through. My individual story is plain and simple. I brought home guilt because as the man of the house, as the father, I brought a disease back into my home. I know that's not the way that people should see it, but my wife had it and my oldest daughter had it. And if I didn't have it, they wouldn't have had it. Therefore, to me, in that line, it's my guilt. It's my fault that I wasn't as careful as I should have been. The difficulty there is that neither one of them even hold me responsible. Both of them have looked at me as if, Daddy, it's no big deal. Honey, it's no big deal. You know, we're okay. They fortunately did 14 days of quarantine, and that was it. While me, I had to go under the ventilator, and the entire horrible situation with COVID and the medical issues, the ICU. I'm needing to see medical professionals, mental health professionals, so that I can get some clarity with a form of PTSD that I suffer from right now through the ICU, that a lot of doctors are recognizing, and a lot of mental professionals are recognizing. I've only been out for 2.5 weeks, and I'm just looking for something that will give me some advisement on which way to go. Again, I based on timing and my medical issues first and recovering, I do have to wait for my appointments, but I have a mental health appointment coming up within the next 2 weeks, and hopefully that'll be something that can get me past some of the trials that I'm going through now. I thought I lost 50 pounds, and I really was sitting in one spot for 4 weeks while I was on a ventilator unconscious. So my muscles were gone. So lifting 2 pounds was heavy. Now doing with this mental stuff, it seems like thinking is becoming heavy because I'm dealing with so much, flashing back to being in ICU. Again, the ultimate part is the guilt and the blame that I have for even contracting it. I know if I was on the outside looking into somebody who was saying this, I say, brother, you know, this, that, and the third, but I still look at them as I made them suffer. And that's not what I wanted. You know, and then I made them worry. And that's not what I wanted. So again, the mental health side is definitely necessary. I am going. Ms. Ashland, I'll probably be seeking somebody out just like you, or Mr. Ward, somebody like yourself. But I'm just waiting patiently so I can get in. And I'm hoping that people understand that this is real. All my brothers in Kappa Kappa Psi, I'm at Morgan State University, the Eddie Gamma chapter. They have rallied behind me to assist me in whatever I needed in my time of recovery, and I applaud them and thank them dearly from the bottom of my heart. But at the same time, there's so much that I have to do mentally for myself that I'm not clear on. I don't know if there's a specific, because there's no specific thing to help me. A lot of people are saying with this COVID, it affects everybody so different. And because it does affect everybody so differently, we all have different mental issues as well as different physical issues. Some people ache all the time. Some people have problems walking, talking, breathing. I fortunately don't have all of those, but I see the symptoms, I see the signs. So mentally, I know there's a plethora of differences out there. I'm just hoping that I can get some help. But again, for all of you in education, I support every teacher out there. Y'all are heroes. Y'all do your thing. I love y'all dearly for educating my children. All of you healthcare professionals, let me tell you, if y'all weren't there, I wouldn't be able to come home to my family, and I appreciate that.
Well, Brother Fuller, you know, we're thankful that you're able to join us here today. And I'm thankful that you're able to share with us your story. And I want to encourage you to do exactly what you're doing, and to also, you know, that kind of went in with something I said a little earlier, is that, you know, as much as that you've been through, that, you know, look at it as it could have been worse. You know, there are some people that didn't have the opportunity to come home from the hospital and to be around family. And so that ties into with how we were saying about the aspect of to change your thinking. And so sometimes, and I think in general, as men, and that's one thing that we suffer for, especially in the Black community, as far as us men, we don't think we need help mentally. And that's our biggest problem. We've been raised to say, okay, we're the strong suit backbone of the community, but we don't take into account the stressors and the anxiety that we feel on a day-to-day basis, trying to be that strong person for our family.
Right.
So just take into account that your family is still there and they don't blame you for anything, and that you are in a lot better position no matter what situation you're in now. You're still better off than a lot of people. You know, some people didn't come home from the hospital. So I encourage you to keep seeking out that professional help. Talk to some of your really close friends, you know, try to put as much positive in your life as you possibly can, whether it be talking to old friends, whether we watching comedies, you know, just doing something that's positive. And I always try to remain encouraged and know that you have a great support system in your family and your friends.
I appreciate that. I've been burning holes in two of my boys' ears all the time. They just there to listen. They've already told me. So again, knowing that you got a support system is important. I've been well aware of these guys that have always had my back, and family members that have always been on my side. So it's just now my time to need them, and it's hard because then I'm supposed to be, like you said, you know, the backbone of the family, you know, provider, all the typical things. But you know, vulnerable has never been part of that vocabulary for me. It's never been something that I could think of, because I don't see that as part of my responsibilities. I don't see that as part of my character, part of my makeup. But I have to understand that this event has put me in a position of vulnerability. So I have to go get help. You know, and I don't want to be in a position, and I say this with all honesty, I never want to put myself in a position where I was so vulnerable that I then made everything an excuse to take it out on other people. I don't want to, I want to go to my wife to seek help. I don't want to go to her to blame her, or to let anger or frustration overflow, you know, onto her, or to my children, especially, because they don't deserve it. I need to make sure that I keep those two lines clear, because I don't want to have a moment of stress so devastating that it damages those relationships. I just can't. I've seen too many people go through so much stress that all of a sudden they angry at their kids, or they're angry at their parents even, or their spouses. I can't do that. I can't do. I realize that I gotta go get help. So I'm just hoping that these next couple of weeks puts me in a position where I can get help, and you know, the psychology of providing and making the money and then paying the bills and then getting help as far as financial is concerned, you know, it all weighs on somebody that's supposed to be the head of the family. It all really weighs tremendously. And I've taken that stress every day of my life. But now with this COVID, now I'm not physically capable of going out to do those things, whether the health precautions were in place or not. It's just devastating. It's just devastating. And again, seeing them suffer from something that I was suffering from.
Well, Brother Jeffrey, one thing about it is you've taken the biggest step, and that's recognizing and identifying that you need to help, and admitting that, you are vulnerable. We as men, we don't admit that. We don't like to admit that we are vulnerable, or we need help, or we can't do something. But the reality of it is we can't do everything. We are vulnerable. Sometimes we do need help. Sometimes we do need to talk to somebody outside of our family, and so that's a big step. And I commend you for that, is recognize, because some people they don't recognize that they need help. They don't recognize that they need, professional help. And, there's a stigma that, people like to label professional help as, or at least used to more so. But everybody who seeks professional help don't mean they're crazy. It's crazy not to get it if you need it. So I commend you for taking the necessary steps to make sure that you are able to provide the best possible and be the best possible person for your family.
Thank you. Thank you all. I misjudged the time on this, so I got to jump out of here. I just wanted to make sure that, Brother Chris, I'll reach out to you personally later on your page. We chatted about some other things off the record, but now that we touch base this way, I feel a little closer. I want to make sure I reach back out to you, Brother Ward. I appreciate you, and everybody that's here. I can't say thank you enough for praying for me like you're praying for me now. I appreciate your concerns, and just go out there and grab your families and hug them close, because this thing almost snatched me away from my family. I don't know what I'd do, but I'm at a point of loss where I don't know what to do. And now that I'm sitting in one spot, all I can say is thank you, because that's what's going to get me through this, knowing that y'all are praying for me. People out there got a concern. We just met about an hour and 15 minutes ago, and now I know I got some people that understand where I'm coming from, and hopefully, like Brother Ward said, my story can help you towards your families and some friends you may have, and making sure that people take this thing seriously. The actual illness itself, the suffering from the pandemic, everything we're going through, and then more so the mental stress that it puts on you individually. Thank you very much. You guys have a great rest of your day. I have to step out, but again, I appreciate you guys 100%. My Brother Ward, I will be reaching back out to you as well. Feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or what have you.
Good.
Because I'll never turn down anybody who's trying to help me with anything. So I'll leave you with a little something my uncle always says to me. It's always better to be seen and heard than to be viewed and talked about. So I take that wholeheartedly old school way very seriously. That man is 94 years old and still sharp as a tack, and I wouldn't trust his left hook with nobody. I guarantee you. Y'all got uncles like that. I got one too. So make a mean pot of crab soup if y'all want to come to Baltimore. We'll set y'all up. I see all y'all cheesing about that. I see you. But if y'all want real crab soup, some New Orleans people out there, I pray for y'all. If y'all want some real crab soup, y'all come on to Baltimore. Okay, we got that thing for you. And I'll be more than happy to host because one thing with that, they told me, hey, we all we got.
That is so true.
We are all we got. And I don't care if you in Pine Bluff, or you in Chi-Town, you in Texas, you wherever. We all we got. We got to watch out for each other. And I, again, appreciate y'all watching out for each other. I'm gonna get off now because my wife tell me I talk a dog off a meat wagon. So y'all take care. God bless.
And thank you for sharing.
God bless. Hey, all my brothers out there, holler at my sisters, TDS. One.
Take care.
Speak.
Can I say something real quick? That was a true testimony. That's all I gotta say. That was this seminar was meant for him. And you just never know who you're gonna touch. Never know who you're gonna touch.
Let your dog out.
And I think he just needed the reassurance that, like I thank you, Brother Ward, just for reassuring him, because that's the most important things that like you said, a lot of men don't feel comfortable talking about it. And so with him talking about it, it might make somebody else feel comfortable, or it might make somebody else, who's dealing psychologically with some things, maybe he can reach out to them or somebody else can. Because this is really, the pandemic, it can be depressing, it can weigh on you. And I think sometimes just being able to dialogue with other people, just that in itself is something, that can really be comforting to people. So I'm really inspired by him. I'm like, boy, you think you're going through something. And when you heard his testimony, it's like, wow. So I'm just glad that he knows, I'm just saying that we offered support to him today. And I just think that's going to make him feel better, and then in turn make his family feel better, with some things that probably have been weighing heavily on him. So
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Having dialogue, is always positive because you never know what people are going through. I'm glad we end up doing this. Yeah, I'm very emotional. Hold on 1 second.
Well, the one thing I can say about this whole flat platform that's going on, we all go way back so many years, and we've always been like this. This is just another platform for us to actually be together to help people, and we've been helping other people for years with stuff like this that wasn't even in the band, just outside of the band. I can remember when we had things to talk to people. As was Anthony Ward, he knows even when I first came on the yard, we jailed and it became a bond. And all this that we're doing now, it's going beyond and above striving for the highest and doing the things that we should do to help somebody. And I'm glad that I'm a part of it. I tell Chris all the time, I really don't like joining stuff because it's not a positive thing. And when you're doing something great, people always try to get in the way to make it better. And I think this group that's growing and developing into becoming a professional group, as well as somebody just to come and naturally talk to save somebody. I appreciate all y'all and love all y'all. Always have and always will.
I think that one thing that I know I'm guilty of is not reaching out more to people I know, just to say, hey, how you doing? And that's one thing that, you know, we should be doing, especially during this COVID. It's just to call and say, hey, how you doing, brother? Hey, sister, how you doing? You know, it doesn't have to be a long conversation, you know, but just to know that you're being thought about. You know, I have some people that call me, you know, every now and then just to say, hey, man, how's it going? You know, I'll get a text. And so that means the world. And so I know personally myself, I need to do more of that, you know, just to check on people, just to see, you know, how they doing. You know, they don't have to tell me, you know, all of what's going on and everything in their life if they don't want to, but just to be that person for someone to reach out to and just say, hey, you know, this is what I'm going through. And I think Jeffrey, you know, Chris, be more than welcome to give him my number. You know, I'd love to talk to him. I actually have family out in Baltimore that I really want to go visit. So maybe I can, you know, establish enough of a relationship with him. By that time I can, you know, I can look him up when I go out there. But I think we all need to reach out to people that we know. And sometimes even when we see people in the world, just ask them how they doing. Hey, how you doing? You know, they may tell you, they may not, but you'd be surprised at how many times a complete stranger will end up just telling you all of what's going on with them. And a lot of times you may not be able to do one thing at all, but be a listening ear. And a lot of times that's what all people need, is just a listening ear.
That is so true. It is so true. I believe Wendy had a question to ask.
I did have a question. I hope it's not too loud in here. Okay. Wendelin Campbell, 32468. I'm sorry, I'm donating blood.
Okay.
But my question was, and I guess it's in refer. I would like to refer this to Brother O'Connor, because my mom is 71, and she's been, you know, isolated since this started. Both of my daughters have contracted COVID-19, and you know, have you know, come through it healthy. But for her, it's difficult to you know, to socialize, to, you know, have any human contact. So I was wondering what you may be doing with your mother and your grandmother, if there are programs to kind of get elderly involved or connected with each other in your area that I can look for in her area that may be able to assist her with dealing with the isolation.
Well, they have, my grandmother stays in Linwood, Illinois, and the Village Hall had programs that they could come out, that they had the seniors to come out, and they actually come and pick them up in like the little specialized vans separately, so that, you know, because of the COVID. And also we come and take my grandmother, like right now, I think I talked to Patrice about it. My grandmother is having the dementia now. So that's one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with and trying to understand. I've been asking anybody that would tell me about it, because now she's thinking that someone's stealing from her, or, you know, things of those nature. But from the programs that we've had her in now, it's been kind of taking her mind off of that stuff and getting out and actually going to see nature. You wouldn't believe how just taking them for a ride, just a simple ride where it's nothing but trees, wind, and water, or whatever. Those things that's been helping with my grandmother.
I have a question.
Thank you so much.
I am paranoid. I'm paranoid from the standpoint that because I have a pre-existing condition, and if I contract this disease, it will most definitely take me out of here. I've been dealing with this ever since my diagnosis, because that's one of the first things when this virus started spreading. My oncologist and my urologist both advised me to isolate myself and to stay out of the public because of the nature of my cancer and the frequency of my disease coming back. And without this organization and my family just staying in constant contact with me, checking on me, calling me, I don't know what my mental state would be. Having to deal with this mental illness and then worrying about just something as simple as touching something could actually hurt me beyond what I'm already going through. And to hear that just common ordinary folks are dealing with this and the stress levels, it kind of puts my mind at ease. And without you guys being lifelong friends, brothers and sisters, I don't know where I would be at right now at this particular point in my life. But I'm in a good place. And to know that we have professionals within our group and people who experience these things every day. If I need to call somebody in the middle of the night, you guys have always been available. So keep reaching out. Even when my family can't be there, you guys are always there. And I love all of y'all, and y'all just keep doing y'all thing, because y'all really are helping people whether we know it or not. And God bless the RAA, because there's more coming from this group than I even anticipated.
Thank you so much. The time is now 2:31. Does anyone have any additional questions or questions for the panelists before we conclude this seminar that has been a great aspect to everyone?
Something real quick. Can we start something that, not start, but I mean, in the chat, people have things that they put up. Is there some way, I guess, that we can have like a listing of things, like of organizations or tips, any or websites or things like that? Like as people get information about it, they can list it there so that if we want to, go to it, we can, or we can refer somebody else to the, to the resources that we have from today's session.
Absolutely. What I'm going to do, I'm trying to find out how this can actually be shared on the national website for as KKSI and TBS and other platforms. So I'm gonna get with Akeem and Erica to see how we can actually share this. I know it's a way to share it, but I know we have to get permission on the TBS and the AA side and national in order to have this shared, to have this platform to be shared amongst everyone.
I have a question. Is there a way we could post it to our website and then direct nationals to our website?
Yes.
Is that a way we could do that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
And Chris, I just want to say that I have a friend of mine that's a doctor, and she would be willing to do a straight seminar for strictly this. And she won't charge us anything, but any questions we have, she is really willing to answer. Her name is Dr. Jenny English.
Okay.
Well, that's her not married name, but yeah. So if you ever want to do another one, and to come back to this,
yes,
I can do that. If you guys don't mind having somebody on the outside coming to do a small presentation, but I know she would be willing to. And Chris, I'll send you the link, and then maybe you can somehow distribute it out. I'm not a big Facebook and all the Zoom stuff, but I'll send it to you, and then that way everybody can see, what she does.
Yes, absolutely. In one for as the RAA, I really want, because we all are getting older. We're coming across things that we have never experienced for as health-wise, mental health-wise, work-wise. And I think this is a great platform where things can be, where questions can be answered and where we all provide support. You know, the main thing that the fraternity and sorority brought us together, the love of music and the love of band. But once we leave the undergraduate level, we still need that camaraderie and that education moving forward. And that's the reason why I reached out to, I can't think of her name right now. She was on the last seminar with us with the COVID-19 with music education. And she gave me Ashland's name. And I reached out to National, I reached out to the individuals that are on here now to be a part, because that's education, no matter what it is the key to everything, you know. And one thing that we, you know, one thing I learned from Dr. Joseph Lee Miller, one thing he always said to me, no section is a band. It takes all moving parts to put a piece of music together and a field show together. So because you're the greatest, doesn't mean the band is going to be the greatest. It takes everyone. And that's what I really express to the association, and no one, even people that are not a part of the association, but across the board. Absolutely. Does the panelists have any other closing remarks or anything?
I had noticed in the chat, Dawn Wilson had said something about a disconnect between the students and the parents. Could you please speak a little on that? And, you know, if you have any advice or any advice from any of the other educators on here?
Thank you so much, Maureen. Well, I did use the raise hand feature. I was not quite sure if Chris or any of the other hosts have noticed that, because I do happen to be a teacher. I teach middle school band in Alexandria, Virginia. And thank you so much, Chris, just for calling me just like last minute, just for me to be a part of this. And I must say that, I mean, this discussion right here, definitely, of course, I have not ever been a part of something like this in this capacity, but I think it definitely was needed. And as well as, of course, like the gentleman that gave his testimony, at least I think that actually was really, really a huge blessing. But just like to answer what Maureen just says, I mean, me being a teacher, because for one, I teach at a Title I school in Northern Virginia. There's definitely, of course, a lot of push about these social, emotional support that all of our students, I mean, of course, I mean, does need. And as well as, of course, I mean, you know, I mean, like everyone's like home living situation is very, very different. So about me saying about like how there is a huge disconnect is because, for one, I mean, I can just like tell and sense it, and I could feel it from my students, and even I could just just see it on the expression on their faces, because for one, they're tired, they're stressed, they're confused, they feel like, I mean, like things are not ever going to be the same. They're definitely, of course, missing that peer to peer, I mean, like social interaction that, I mean, of course, that they're missing, that all of us actually need as part of our own like learning and growing development. So this whole thing, I mean, just has been stressful on everyone. And just so one of the things that I have been doing was like for this past week, we just ended our 7th week of virtual school right now. My students are just now receiving instruments in their hands, and it normally does not even take this long. So ever since then, I mean, just what I have been starting to do more is, I mean, of course, you know, I mean, like the children, they're lost. So one of the things that I'm currently am trying my hardest and going above and beyond of doing is reaching out to the parents more by email, and as well as we use our teaching platform is called Canvas. So definitely, of course, keeping that communication line between myself and the parents, because I need to get the parents on board with me. Once when I have their support, at least that's going to help just to uplift the child, especially with this whole crisis that all of us are going through. And it's because, I mean, you know, for one thing, I mean, like the kids, let's face it, they're not learning, I mean, as effectively as they normally would in a school setting. They're not learning. A lot of them are camera shy. A lot of them are not even engaged, like through looking at a computer screen, shutting off their cameras on Zoom, or for whatever the reason, too many home distractions. So it really, really is a whole lot weighing on everybody. So just to answer your question, Ms. Maureen, I think that definitely, of course, like as educators, we of course just need to let the students know that, of course, I mean, we're here for them. I mean, they're always reassuring them that they're not alone. Always, I mean, like being there, I mean, just to support them in any way and as best as we could. Definitely, of course, I mean, letting the parents know that if you also just like have any questions or concerns, to please like reach on out, just to keep that that lines of communication, because at least, like, you know, with the parents, and especially with all of them being what working parents, especially, I mean, I think that's just going to help. I mean, you know, just to feel them a little bit more at ease, that once when they do feel like they do have just a support system.
Thank you.
All righty.
Well, Chris, I just want to say, first and foremost, you know, thank you to the RIA for holding this platform today. And I want to commend you on the work, and as well as the other members of the RIA who are working diligently behind the scenes to do things like this and other things. And so I know that you guys have a plan. You know, 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have this, and so now we do. And so it's growing. I hate I missed the last seminar you did, but I will make every attempt to be a part of future ones, even just a spectator. So I commend you guys for doing that and being the organization that you've become. Thank you for reaching out to me to be a part of this platform. And I'm hoping that things that we have said today has reached someone and maybe given them some information. There's, of course, always a lot of information to learn. I think Ashley can probably tell you, you know, we go through a lot of trainings about this, that, and the other. There's always emails coming through about this training and that training, and things are changing. You know, with COVID, things were changing to where, you know, only services had to be provided face to face. So with COVID, they had to go back and say, hey, okay, we still want to, you know, people are still going to be in need despite COVID. So we have to figure out a way to provide that services. And that's where, you know, telemedicine came into effect, to where now we could do telehealth via video, and it still be something that's we're able to help somebody and it's billable. And so, you know, I'm glad that Jeffrey got on here and kind of gave us a testimony. And one thing about it, he mentioned that we also have to consider is how, you know, being anxious a lot and stressful can also lead to anger, you know, and like he says, he's angry about, you know, he's wondering how can I be that person for my family, and something like that will lead to anger. You know, if we look at nationally how this whole pandemic has been handled by our administration, then I'm sure we all get angry, because a lot of this could have been avoided. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it could have been avoided. And I think a lot of people are now angry because we're going through this. And again, we shouldn't stay angry, but we are. And when we hear testimonies like Jeffrey's, that makes me angry, because maybe, again, if things had been done differently in our White House, then maybe things wouldn't have gotten this bad. But what we have to do is what I mentioned earlier. We can't keep focusing on things we can't control and focus on the thing we can control. You know, it's here, we don't like it, and we have to do the best that we can do to protect ourselves and our families. And that's what we can control. So with that being said, again, I hope everyone has a safe weekend. Remain safe, wash your hands. And again, I encourage everybody to reach out to people and just say, hey, how you doing? You know, everything all right? You know, Charles, I worry about you, and Sleep, and Dre, and all of you in law enforcement, because I know, especially with the looting and things that's been going on as far as the police brutality and things like that, you know, you guys, you know, you have families too, and you're going to get home. You know, I talk to sleep quite a bit, and you know what that conversation is always about. But nonetheless, man, you guys, you're putting your life on the line every day for those of you in Chicago and, you know, other law enforcement teachers. I always have given you high praise even before this came, because, you know, growing up the son of a teacher, I saw firsthand how difficult teaching can be. And then my wife is a teacher, and just seeing firsthand what she was going through. And then I was working in the school system for a while, so I was able to see firsthand how difficult teaching can be. I think you're underpaid by a long shot, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But people on the outside, I've always been an advocate for educators, because people on the outside don't understand, unless you have been in a school setting working on a day-to-day basis, it's very, very, very difficult. And so now you add on the fact that now you have to deal with teaching virtually. And then, you know, because the kids who had the problems before COVID, they still got the problems. They're just doing it from home, or they're doing it in class. And so this is a learning experience for everybody. And Chris, I look forward to more platforms to where it can be informational. And so again, I say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you all for being panelists and responding and making this happen. And we have more to come, because once again, we're here to educate one another and show support. I don't know if you guys know, but we did have Kappa Kappa Psi brother from Gamma Omega passed away 2 weeks ago from COVID. We also had another Gamma Omega fraternity brother that just was released from, Terrence Cannon just was released from the hospital Thursday with the COVID-19, from the effects of COVID-19. So, you know, just reaching out to those individuals or families, or like you said at the beginning, you know, just reach out to individuals and ask how they're doing too, you know. And if we can't provide the actual support, we can provide them reference to how to provide, you know, to get support from. All righty. All hearts and minds are clear. All righty. Thank you guys so much for attending, and you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a great day. Bye.
Take care.
Take care of y'all. Take
Take
care.
care.
Love everybody.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley, for joining us.
Of course. Thank you, Chris, and thanks to RAA for having me out here. I'm happy to come back anytime you want.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.